seen, oh, hey, wait a minute, we can do this against them?
Well, it's a little bit easier to do stuff knowing that, you know, you've got to go 80 yards in a minute or whatever, you know, and they can afford to, you know, to possibly sit back and do things, you know, and they're probably better off. We've beaten more people this year when they've tried to blitz us than we have when they've sat back and, you know, tried to, drop us off. Then it becomes a guessing game, you know. So what, you know, you can use multi-purpose coverages to a certain degree that can help you. But if the defense isn't cooperating, you know, they get in a pattern of using, let's say, 3 different coverages at different times. Now, you know, you got to be careful about getting caught trying to outguess them, and then you could end up in a bad, with a bad call, where you can't get what you want out of it. You know, so it either has to be thrown away, which ends up being a wasted down, or it just becomes a bad completion that doesn't get you anyplace.
Last year, you're getting those first downs and winning those close games. Your coach has talked a lot about the 5 line, almost as a perfect example last year to this one. Does the offensive coordinator not get enough love in here when those are made and those wins happen, and get too much of the grief when the other side half the coin happens and you lose by 4 here and lose by 3 there, and some of those first downs aren't made?
I don't know about me, but I'm sure I'm not worried about the love factor, but I know it's tough on the quarterback, you know, because he's doing everything he can, you know. Those are tough situations, to be in, and we're counting on him to make all the correct decisions out there all the time, you know, and I don't care if you're a coach or the quarterback, you're always wishing you had a few things back, you know, a lot of times, you know, even when you're winning games, you know, you look at things, we could have done this different or that different, I wish we did this, we should, did that, but you know, you're not saying it the same way as when you lose a ball game. You know, it does, and it certainly feels a lot differently in those situations. You know, because it's just kind of how the whole thing is.
How do you react if Joe Fan runs up to you and says, "You guys need to go for the kill more. You guys need to unleash the shackles, you know, in those first quarter, first half, and try to get a big lead on people." Do you? Maybe that's a philosophical question. Just say, you know, that's what you think we're doing, or.
I don't. I mean, you know, we've probably. We haven't gone back through everything, but you know, this year more than ever, we've taken a lot of shots down the field. Sometimes, you know, sometimes it's not, and if it's working, it's great. You can get a big lead. In some of those other situations we talked about, some of the games we had at the end of the year, we didn't hit those shots down the field, so it took us a longer time to get going. And we had to do it the old-fashioned way with a drive or whatever it may be. But you know, I think this year more than ever, we took shots, and we went into every game, you know, wanting to do that. I think, you know, the last 2 years especially, and that's, you know, that's kind of who we are. But you've got to make those, otherwise it's 2nd and 10, and then that means it could be 3rd and 10. And if there ends up being a sack, which we haven't, you know, I mean, there hasn't been a million of those by any means. Our line's done a nice job. It could be even 3rd and longer than 10. So it all factors in, you know. But you just keep going at it, and working for the next play is really what you do. You know, is what you do.
One more question. Can you talk about the development of your reserve quarterbacks? I mean, with Rick playing his last game, how they developed this year?
Well, how do you think they've developed this year? Right. So you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing. You know, I mean,
just in practice.
Without game experience, again, you're asking me to comment on something that, it would be totally practice based. And you know, James has had a great year of practice. He wears a red shirt and no one's hit it. And he gets chased around a little bit, and he usually has the benefit of seeing what Rick's doing first and can check or read the coverage, you know, that way himself, you know. So it's kind of how practice is built. But no, James is he certainly has grown up a lot, and has made himself a better player. He's a better player than he was a year ago, even though he hasn't been in the game from a practice standpoint. Yes, if you're asking me to evaluate him on practice. And I would say, you know, all of our guys are better, you know, in that regard. So where that takes us after that, neither one of us know.
Okay.